spades?
Yes,
okay.
you do.
No.
There is no way you
Oh,
go
you'll
home after
never
set
guess.
over set.
You'll never guess. I
Arden,
got
he was playing-
set over set.
He was playing the app. He was running so bad. He was playing horrible, but he was running really bad.
But I did rip my shirt once. I have seen Jeremy just. Am I allowed to say it?
Say it. Light himself on
I'm
fire.
allowed to just see. You should just light like 70K on fire, and then come back. Talk him out. And then come back and play perfectly the next day and win 100.
Here's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say he was running bad, maybe made a few mistakes, and then he got cooler, and he was in his house, and he went. He just ripped his shirt down the middle, and his
That's
wife,
really
his
true.
wife
That's a
is
true
like,
story. That's
"You
when
need
she's
to
problem,
You
and
have a problem,
I disagreed.
We are playing 50-100 at Hustler Casino Live. Jay Boogs raises it up out of his $15,000 effective stack with 69 of clubs under the gun plus 3. He's getting frisky. Over onto Mike X. 3 bets with the king of clubs, jack of diamonds to 1,400. Brazil God on the button cold calls with the king of spades, queen of clubs. Now, this is a play a lot of people make on a very regular basis. But when it goes raise and then 3 bet, the offsuit big cards go way down in value. They shrivel up. So, in this scenario, I think the king-queen should probably just fold. If you wanted to play the king-queen, you should probably put in the 4-bet bluff, because when you have a king and a queen in your hand, it's way less likely you're against ace-king, ace-queen, pocket kings, or pocket queens, which means you're a little bit more likely to be against a weak hand. Anyway, Brazil God calls. Arden Cho, world-class actress in the small blind, decides to get frisky too with the 7-5 of clubs. Jay Boogs calls. Let's go to the flop.
She goes, I think you have a problem, Jeremy.
Hey, Jeremy, you need to go. Oh, sorry about that. Go. You need to go home and get your shirt ripped open one day.
Buttons here, check to you.
All right,
There's been
so.
discussion about my group as to whether
That's what you did to me.
tell your spouse like
Dirty.
what you've won or lost.
The flop comes ace of hearts, jack of spades, 5 of spades. No one has anything particularly great, and they all check through. This is a spot where perhaps the king-queen on the button could make a bet with the gut shot to the nuts and with the backdoor king-high flush draw, but checking is fine too.
What was the consensus? No.
Some people are just super transparent. Like I don't tell my wife anymore.
We got a few more
To
hours.
speak about just me, I don't tell my wife. Because if I win 100, then if I lose 50, she's not happy.
Look at it. I've lost with good hands. I can't play them. Jacks, pocket set, hat.
I tell my
Only
wife
two
all the
hands a
time.
lot.
She knows everything.
The turn is the ace of spades, and Arden comes to life with a $1,700 bet into the 5,800 pot. And I would say this is overly loose and overly aggressive. In multi-way pots, out of position, you typically want to do a ton of checking in general. And when you are betting, it needs to be your best hands just straight up for value and or protection, so perhaps a good ace and better, and high equity draws, like the king of spades. The 7-5 has the big problem in that even if you do improve with another 5, making a full house, you could just be against an ace and you are dead. So, as we see in this scenario, even against a random king, jack, and king, queen, she only has 3% equity. 3 is not a lot. When you have 3% equity, you should be check folding. But she decided to choose violence today. She bet 1,700. Let's see how her opponents proceed.
Lisa's the best.
Yeah, I used to talk about. So you used to talk about that stuff, and you're like, no more.
No. There's nothing good that comes out of it. Let's put it that way.
If my wife asked me, of course.
Yeah, I'll discuss. I don't like to get into the numbers.
Jeremy just go home with a ripped up shirt and she'll know. You don't have to talk to him.
Mike and Brazil God both opt to call. And I think this is a spot where the hijack with king of clubs, jack of diamonds for second pair, no flush draw, probably just wants to fold immediately. I recognize he's getting good odds. I recognize he's in position against Arden, but he has a player yet to act, and he could just be dead against an ace or a flush. So even though king jack will be the best hand some portion of the time, we see in this spot it actually has 57% equity and almost 100 against Arden. I think the king jack should have actually just folded. Whatever. He calls. Brazil God with his king high flush draw and gut shot in position as an easy call. Let's go to the river.
She can tell by my
The
attitude.
credit card works. I never get asked anything.
She's like, you want to go shopping? And I'm like, what'd you say?
Oh, you must have ran well last
The river is the 4 of spades. Brazil God has the nut flush. Can we do ourselves a favor and change poker vernacular? We can all do this together. Should the king of spades be called the nut flush in this scenario? I personally think no. And with your help, we can make this happen. What is the nuts on this board? 4 aces? No. It's the 3-2 of spades. 3-2 of spades is the best flush. Also, I don't think you should call the best flush the nut flush if it still loses to some hands. So imagine the river was the 6 of spades instead. Should the king of spades be considered the nut flush? I would say no. That makes it sound like a really good hand. But it's not, I mean, it's a good hand, don't get me wrong, but it's not the nuts, right? If you call something the nuts, it should be the nuts or very, very near it. And in this scenario, the king high flush on a paired board, especially with the ace, where you lose to all the full houses, is not the nuts. Let's just call it the king high flush. If you and all of your friends change poker vernacular, we can make this happen. If you like my rant, click the like and subscribe button down below. If you do not like it, that's okay. Click the button anyway. All right, Arden's out of position with this 7-5. She has a bad pair. Probably not going to win. What do you think she should do in this scenario? Should she check and just check fold? Should she bet 5,000? Should she go all in for 1.5x pot, 15,000? Or should she check looking to check raise? Take a second, think about it, and write what you would do, or perhaps what she would do. They may be different. Write those things in the comments section below.
Well, that was the problem with playing the app for me, is it would affect my mood.
For sure.
You know, like, but you know,
I try to let it not to.
I'm kind of moody. I'm kind of too, like, I care too much about the wins and losses, which leads to me,
Of course.
which leads to me winning a lot of tournaments because I'm always focused on how I played.
Yeah.
But it's not fair for my wife.
It's definitely not fair. Yeah, but I still play, I just try to not let it affect me as much. It's hard.
So look, in GTO world, you always want to have some bluffs in a lot of situations, but I think this is one where you just don't. Because it is so easy to be against a flush, and it's so easy to be against an ace. So, check fold. She checks. Mike X checks. And now, we get to see what Brazilian God does with the king high flush.
I lost 30,000 the other day, and I was in the worst mood ever.
Brazil God does go for the half pot value bet on the river, and I think this is reasonable. As your opponents are more loose, aggressive, battly, splashy, you need to be far more cautious going for thin-ish value. Like if you had the 10 of spades here, definitely check it back. Queen of spades, probably check it back. But I do think king of spades is good enough to bet, because if your opponents have the queen or the 10 or maybe any spade or maybe even an ace, they will very often find a hero call.
And I told my office, honey, this is ridiculous.
That's why you'll never go broke. To be
This is
honest,
ridiculous. I just
you don't
lost
have that
30K.
chip, you don't have that chip.
Wow, Arden and the guy.
I thought Arden was just going to easily fold, but she, again, surprised me and chose massive amounts of violence. She rips it all in. When you are considering check raise bluffing on the river, you want to block the nuts. So, in this spot, you want to ask yourself, is an ace good enough to call a $5,000 bet on the river? If it is, then you want to find other hands that block full houses, like a jack or a 5, right? But in this scenario, because I think an ace is not good enough to call a 5,000 value bet, I think any ace would be a very nice hand to check raise with as a bluff if you felt inclined to have bluffs in your range. That said, if you think your opponent's going to value bet a flush and then fold it to a shove, well then shove anything. And you'd obviously rather have a blocker to full houses, because then it's less likely you get called. Arden does rip it in. Let's see if she can get the king high flush to fold.
Stop doing that.
Why?
I can see your chips. Right next to you. What are you doing? Okay, all right. Well, I have the nut flush. So. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna, fold. Yeah, fold.
Stand up, right? Yeah.
You didn't have the nut. Out of here. Really?
Are we playing poker?
I really did.
You really did?
Wow, Arden! Oh my God! There, you want a virality? You want a viral hand? That's going viral. Luis bets 5,000
You
with
haven't
another
did
bluff.
have enough
I don't
flush.
think you have.
They're going berserk.
There's no.
I have enough flush. I have
You
enough.
swear?
Of course he did.
Yeah, I have enough flush.
He wouldn't have wasted.
Yeah, but I have a 5. I block a full house.
Listen to the super pro. Wait, what's happening?
Oh god. Okay, I'm gonna go back to bullying. Okay, bullying is.
It was a desperation.
That's
It
what
was a desperation bluff. I didn't know what I could do.
Another
After a bit of thought, Brazil God says, only king high flush. I gotta fold. And Arden scoops a massive pot with a blocker.